I want to make a video game, and let's begin. Over the past few years, I've been developing smaller projects, nothing substantial and nothing to be proud of. But today that's about to change. With your help, I know we can develop something amazing, so let's begin this video game development journey. Alright guys, it's day one. It's about 8 a.m. right now. We're about to start our brainstorming to try to figure out what type of game we're going to make. I got my coffee. Let's get started. I needed inspiration, so where better to look than the World Wide Web? I first started with Google, just looking at basic images, trying to get inspired. I didn't know what genre to make. As I mindlessly browsed the internet, I continuously found myself gravitated towards the RPG world. Some sort of world to explore would be really cool in a game, I kept thinking. I realized that we needed this in our game. Now, I don't always have the best ideas, especially early in the morning. At this point, my brain was pretty much just mush. So I needed to look for some advice and some help. Since we're going to be using ChatGPT throughout the progress of our video game development, I figure why not try to brainstorm with it? With the mouse in my hand and no other options, I went for it. It outputted details on gameplay mechanics, approaches to design that I've never even thought about before. It gave me instructions on how to approach world development and options I have in terms of procedurally generating or a static world. I was enlightened. ChatGPT opened my eyes to new doors that I never even knew were available, new options, and new routes to take in this journey. So I spent a good amount of time doing some research in terms of what type of game genre I want to approach, and all that I know of as of now is that I want to do an adventure game. I don't want to do like a story-driven adventure game. I want to do some sort of world that, me and the other players are going to be able to explore and find things in, kind of thing. I also want monsters. Definitely want some sort of animated monsters in the world. I'm contemplating, I'm kind of weighing the scales between isometric and two-dimensional, top-down. It's just one of those things, it changes the perspective. We can have a three-dimensional kind of perspective with isometric, but top-down is a little simpler, I think, with a lot of aspects. Let's start. Alright guys, it's time to begin our video game. So we're going to create a new folder. This will be our folder which all our files will go into. We're going to call it video game. Video game. The other thing that I have is Notepad++. I'll throw a link on the screen for you now where you can download it. It's pretty awesome. It's just an editor and you can write different languages into it. I use it for a lot of my coding because it creates the files and everything. With the correct file extensions, stuff like that. So we're gonna create our main HTML file. We're gonna call it index. That's right, guys. We're gonna be coding in HTML today, as well as JavaScript. So we're gonna go into our video game folder, which is right here. We're gonna call this index. And as you see, it will save as a hypertext markup language. That means HTML extension. So that's good. We're gonna create a couple more files here. Next file we're going to call is going to be our style sheet. So we're going to create a CSS page. We're going to call it styles. Actually, we're just going to call it style. Style.css, and this is saving within our thing. As you can see, it's a Cascade style sheet, which is CSS. And you can double check up here. It'll show the extension at the end if you know, if you want to check to see that they're being saved correctly. So we're going to go into a JavaScript language now, and we're going to save this one as our save as, and this will be our world.js. The next file we're going to create is going to be another JavaScript file. The reason why I'm creating a second JavaScript file, we're going to create a lot of different JavaScript files throughout our coding. This helps simplify and organize your code. It's called modular design. If I have a bunch of code that's oriented around the player object, I'm going to have its own JavaScript file called player.js, and everything to do with the player will be inside that.
that file. That way, if I need to make any modifications to the player, I don't need to dig through a gigantic program. I can simply go to one small file and find it quickly. It's readable that way. Anyway, so we're going to now create a JavaScript file, and we're going to call it, I want to throw a monster in there, so we're going to call it monster. Monster.js. Perfect. All right. So instead of typing a bunch of code right now, because it's a little bit tedious to do that, I'm just going to get ChatGPT to organize my files. Hello, I want to make a video game. Let me throw this on the screen here for you guys. Hello, I want to make a video game. I have 4 files. Index.html, style.css, world.js, and monster.js. I want the appropriate code written in each file. Can you set up my files? I want to create a basic canvas. (800 pixels by 800 pixels in size. Use the background images slash background slash main.png. I'll explain this in a minute. I want to create a basic, okay, use the background image to populate the background of the canvas. Also ensure the canvas is centered in the screen. Okay, so what I'm asking it to do is I'm asking it to pretty much create my starting files. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and get a image, because I said I'm going to put an image in for the background, so we got to find that image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to AI. So I love this site. It's called bing.com/create, but it's an AI generator. It creates a bunch of different images. It's pretty cool. So we're going to go here, and through text we can get it to create an image. So I want a cool, simplistic RPG style texture background image. Very plain but intriguing. Simplistic. Now, I have no idea what this is going to output, but all I want is like some sort of like texture to put as like a background image, because at least we can visually see that our canvas is being drawn, and we'll be able to see it. I could put a border around there, but I think this is cool because this will teach you guys a little lesson as well. So we got some cool little basic canvas element. This one looks pretty neat here. Sounds good. We'll take this one for now. So I'm going to save this image as JPEG. It's already trying to save as that, which is kind of cool. We'll just do that for now. But up here I'm going to go and open it in Paint. So I want to make sure that it's the correct size of the canvas. So once I have it in Paint, I can go into resize. I can change the size to 800 pixels because that's what I told I was doing. We're going to save this and ensure that this is a PNG. I want all my images to be PNGs just to keep consistency in my design today. So we're going to go into our desktop now. Where the heck is, where's our folder here? Video game. And we're going to save, we're going to create a new folder. It's going to be called images. And inside of this folder, we're going to create another folder, and it's going to be called, what did I say, naming convention wise? Background, I think. And I think I called it main.png. The reason why the naming conventions are important is because I did reference specific pathways for ChatGPT to write the code for. So here's my index.html file. And as you can see, it's linking in the style sheet and it's referencing style.css, which is the correct naming convention. Here as well, we have the correct naming conventions. We have world.js and monster.js. This just saved me writing this. It's a very simple script line, but HTML program. But anyways, it just saves me writing the basic setup process. That's all I was trying to get out of this. I'm not too worried about what the game actually loads. The cool thing is Monster has no code right now, which makes sense. And world.js is the part of the code that is going to actually generate the canvas, which is what we want. So this looks pretty good right now. I'm just going to copy this stuff over and see how it works out. So and world.js. Now the cool thing about coding in HTML, because it's a website, you can actually just run it into your browser to see basic changes. So as you can see, we have loaded a canvas element, and it has loaded this image in the middle of the screen. It's pretty awesome. It's a good size, I think. Like I like this size for a game screen. You know, we can have some UI elements, stuff like that outside of it. But in terms of the actual size of the screen, this is a good size. You got to understand that some people have smaller monitors than me, so you know, somebody could be using a monitor like this. And one thing that it's not as of now is fully responsive. So I do want to ensure that this game is going to be fully responsive. So can we ensure that this image is fully responsive to all major screen sizes? Tablet, mobile, and PC. Let's see what this does here. Might be doing it within the JavaScript, which is interesting. Did it do it at all? We need to adjust the JavaScript dynamically to scale. Okay, so this is where it actually adds it, isn't within this, I believe. So that's cool. It saves me writing it. Just to be safe, where's the CSS file? Okay. All right, yeah, there was a small amount of changes. So if we look now and we refresh this, and that didn't work correctly. Just a second here. So as you can see, as I shrink this down now, it actually shrinks the image. So if you look at this, like the size of the dragon here, as we go bigger, the dragon actually gets larger. And as we get smaller, it actually gets smaller. It is responsive. As of now, it's fully responsive. That's really important because a lot of people play, like especially HTML games, they might play on within a browser, and they might be doing that on, you know, their cell phone. They're not always doing it on their computer. So the screen sizes are definitely dynamically changing. I think that's important to cater to that. All right, so the next thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get some sort of textures. Our world's going to be comprised of tiles, and those tiles are going to need to have textures on them. So let's get those going. We're going to create another folder. It's going to be called textures. And we're going to need to find some. So I'm going to go back to my trusty site, bing.create. As you can see, there's this lovely image here. I just typed in a simple prompt. I want a two-dimensional world similar to Stardew Valley and Zelda. This is kind of what it pumped out. Great. Let's download this. We're going to open this into our Paint. Trusty Paint. Gotta love it. And I'm going to look for something that's looking pretty repeatable. So we don't want something that has like edges. Something that looks like, you know, it can repeat endlessly. So this dirt looks pretty good. So I think I'm going to grab some of this dirt. And I'm going to go right about there with it. And we're going to crop that. So as you can see, that's just a straight up dirt tile. We're going to resize this. And we're going to make sure that it's divisible into our project. So our project size is 800 pixels by 800 pixels. We have to make sure that these are going to be divisible. So what's divisible by that? 40. Let's make sure these are all 40 pixels by 40 pixels today. That looks like a good size. So I'm going to save this as a PNG. I'm going to save it inside of our textures folder, and it's going to be called Looks like sand, not dirt. I'm gonna call it sand. Okay, so that's a sand texture. We're gonna do this exact same process, but I'm gonna grab some grass. And same sort of deal. We want to find something that's not too obscure. And I think that's it right there. You don't want any edges. So let's try that. We're going to crop this as well. Okay, great. And we're going to resize it. Oh, wait. I gotta resize it first. Pixels, and we had it as a size of 40 by 40. And I'm going to save this as a PNG known as grass. Great. Now I do want there's one more, which will be water. I do see some water in this image, so we'll just grab that now. Okay, we're going to resize that to a 40 by 40 again. This might distort it a little bit, but that's okay. We're not too worried. We'll save that as a PNG as well, and we'll call this water. So we now have 3 textures that we can use to build our world. Just note where these textures are located. We have them inside of a folder, which is images and textures, and then we have them named grass, sand, and water. That's gonna be important because I'm gonna get ChatGPT to write this part for me. So we are back at our prompt, and I'm just gonna simply ask it, okay, now instead of the background image, can you have a world? Let's have water tiles around the outer edge. Each tile will be 40 pixels by 40 pixels in size. Along the edge of the water, we have some sand. Creating a coastline. The rest of the island should be grass. I have added these textures within a folder. Images located, images, textures, x.png, where x is grass, sand, and water, in accordance to the correct texture type. Okay, let me just see here. So we have world.js, where was I? I don't even remember where I was now. And all right, let's see what happens, guys. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but let's see.
What is programming without bugs? A few moments later, I got the island fully comprised and working. And then I decided that I didn't like the textures. The grass wasn't very repeatable, and I needed to change this. I had an idea. My idea was simple. Instead of repeating one tile endlessly, I was going to have 3 different tiles. One was going to be relatively plain, and I would use that for the majority of the island, while using the other 2 sporadically as decor. So I brought my idea to the drawing board and asked ChatGPT to output some code. Wasn't sure what was going to happen, so hold my hand during this process. Let's see how it turns out. So as you can see, we have some grass, and this looks quite a bit better. We have some flowers sporadically throughout it. Now my curiosity is if I randomly, so as I refresh, you guys see the the flowers changing positions and how it's a random design. I think that's pretty successful. Happy with this. Update. Monsters. Okay. I had to create a new file, monsters.js. So I whipped that up, tested it in a kind of a controlled environment, and I think this should be pretty good. So as you can see, we have a skeleton moving in all directions, animating through the character sprite animation that we had, which was awesome. We also have a character, which is our blue square, and we have an attack that spawns every 3 seconds at the end of our black stick, aka our weapon for now. This is just temporary, but yeah, this is the animation. I need to make the bones a little bit bigger. They're slightly too small right now, but yeah, it's something to look forward to. There's actually some depth. All right, guys. Well, after day one, this was kind of our final project or final result. Pretty happy with it. I got further than I wanted to. As you can see, the attack actually moves with our direction and everything, which is kind of cool. I need to fix collision detection slightly. I changed some of the textures around. I got rid of the sand. I plan on using the sand again, but I'm going to use it in a different biome. I also am planning on having this so you require like 10 bones to get into it kind of thing. That might lead to another area in the future, something like that, as it's like a crypt building that we added. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to keep this building, as there is lighting on the image itself, and that might cause us a problem if we're going to incorporate lighting into our game in the future. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this start of a really long project. This is day one of, you know, a multiple year adventure, so it's going to get quite a bit better over time. Pretty excited. This is the stepping stones to the right direction now. Hope you guys enjoy this episode and video log, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as it shows me that you guys want this sort of content, and I'll keep putting it out. Anyways, have a lovely day. Poobearski out.